Well, good morning, everyone. Hey, Arif.
Good morning, Justin.
Morning.
Hi,
Hey, Amy.
Amy. Great to see you. I think we have some care companions with us this morning. Linda and Peter, welcome to you this morning. Um, just a real quick introduction of our care companions. We know that we're in a really difficult season right now, and that combined with the reality that sometimes in these worship services, a lot can get stirred up. Hi, Linda. Welcome, Linda.
Hey, Linda.
Hey, Peter. Glad you're both with us. And so after the service, if there has been some big stuff stirred up for you, some grief or some sorrow, or just wanting to kind of process some things with someone who's been trained by the ministry team, that is what Linda and Peter are available for. And they're available right after the service in a private Zoom room for just some one-on-one time together. And just thank you, Linda and Peter, for being with us this morning. Just really grateful for your ministry and that you're with us this morning. So let's get started this morning. I want to say good morning to everyone who's joining us and kind of streaming in to our online worship service, finding your virtual seat in our sanctuary. We're really glad you're here. Many of you are doing this already, but you're welcome to say hello in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from and just how you're doing this morning. I'm really glad to be with all of you on this Sunday morning. It's not the same as being in the physical building, but there is something that feels really good about coming together in this space and reforming this community of love and hope. And so as we gather this morning, we remember who we are. We are the people who welcome, affirm, and protect the light in each human heart, who listen deeply to where love is calling us next, and who with humility, courage, and compassion act to create a more just world. We do all of these things as a faith community committed to racial justice. This is who we are, and this is the path and the life that we invite you into when you are a part of this faith community. If you've been with us for a few Sundays and are just getting a sense of who we are and trying to figure out if this might be your faith home, I would love to invite you to join us right after the service for our First Step class. It's a 40-minute overview and orientation to First Universalist Church and ways you can be involved. If you do join us, please come into the Zoom room with your video on. There'll be a chance to greet and welcome everyone else who's new to this church and to share a little bit of your own journey and then learn a lot more about this faith community. I also want to remind everyone who's coming into this space that next Sunday, December 13th, we'll be taking a very special collection for our holiday giving recipient. That is Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. This is the organization we're supporting for the next 4 years with our holiday offerings. And you'll remember a couple weeks ago, we invited the congregation to consider cutting back their holiday spending and then to give what has been saved as this collective gift to Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. So we'll be doing that offering next Sunday, December 13th. And I also want to say and just acknowledge that if this is a season where you are really struggling, if things are difficult, either financially or emotionally or spiritually, please let us know. We have emergency funds available to help with housing, help with food, medical bills, transportation, whatever it is that you are needing. I think we can help meet that need and then be there for one another, which is what we want to do and how we want to be as a faith community. On December 20th, we'll have our annual Christmas pageant on Zoom this year. Keep your fingers crossed. We're working on that. Each year in this pageant, we always include the names of little ones, little babies that were born into our congregation over the past year. And so if you would like your child to be celebrated as an expression of hope in the world, please email their name along with 1 or 2 or 3 photos or a 5 or 10-second video today, the deadline is today, to Lauren at firstuniv.org. You can mail those baby photos to Lauren at firstuniv.org. And be sure to check out the order of service link that we've put in the chat box. That has additional information about the service today, the lyrics to the piece our choir is going to be singing, and lots of other resources and information and ways to get connected. Following the service, you can join us in our fellowship Zoom room, where there will be breakout groups for Black, Indigenous, people of color fellowship, and then an all identities fellowship group, as well as some small group breakout spaces as well. So welcome once again. It's really good to be in this space with all of you. I love watching the pews, the virtual pews fill up as we start this service, and just you're still streaming in, and it's a joy to be with you this morning. Let's take a few breaths to center and anchor And across time and space, just breathe together for a minute as we begin this hour of worship together. And another deep breath in. And out. And then one more, just breathing in from the bottom of your toes and up through your belly. Filling your lungs. And then exhaling together. I invite you to join me now as we join Ian and Sylvia in saying the words for the lighting of our chalice.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning, everyone. Today's story is all about everybody's favorite, waiting. It goes like this. There once was a little caterpillar who loved to run and play with all of his friends in the garden. I forgot to say that you all are welcome to help me tell this story. So get whoever has your fastest typing fingers in your household close to the keyboard. My first question is, what kind of games do you think they were playing? The caterpillar. Chess, someone said. What other games? Uno, of course. Hide and seek. We had a couple of people. Allie said Mancala, tag, eating contest, hopscotch, charades, rummy, checkers, tag. Exactly. So they were playing all these games, and the caterpillar was having so much fun that he didn't even want to stop to eat. But all of his other little caterpillar friends were eating. More and more they were eating each day, munching away, and soon they weren't playing as much. So one day, all the other caterpillars climbed up a tree and hung upside down from the branches. "What are you doing?" the caterpillar cried. "Let's play. The sun is shining bright and you're just hanging there." "We're making a cocoon," they replied. "In a few weeks, we'll be butterflies." "A few weeks," whined the caterpillar. "That's like forever. And sitting in a cocoon sounds so boring." The other caterpillars just laughed and said, "You silly caterpillar, try not to whine and cry. You need a little patience to become a butterfly." But no matter how the caterpillar whined and moaned and begged his friends to come back and play with him, they would not. And soon they were all snug in their cocoons and couldn't even talk to him. "Oh," he said, "I'll just find someone else to play with." And he creeped off to another corner of the garden next to some big red tomatoes where he found a flying friend. What kind of flying friend do you think he found? Shelley said a bee. Jessica said a bird. Emily said a bat. Yeah, I think it was a bird, bat, bee. Maybe it was a bee. And the flying friend said, "Hey, do you want to race? Let's have a race." And the caterpillar said, "Yes, I've been looking for someone to play with, and I love a good race. How about we race all the way to the radishes?" "Okay," said the bee, and off they went. The little caterpillar did his best to keep up, but he had to climb over so many rocks and plants and all kinds of things that were laying on the ground, and the bee just zipped through the air and beat the little caterpillar by a mile. When the caterpillar finally made it to the first radish, he was out of breath. It's not fair. It's not fair," he whined. "You can fly, and I can't." "One day, when you have wings like me," said the bee, "we can race again and see who wins." "Oh, that'll take too long," whined the caterpillar. "I want to win a race right now, not when I'm a butterfly." Well, the bee just laughed and flew away and said, "You silly caterpillar, try not to whine and cry. You need a little patience to become a butterfly." Well, the little caterpillar looked up at the tree and all his friends hanging in their cocoons. That didn't seem nice. To be able to fly, though. But it would be so boring just to hang around in the sack doing nothing. He thought of all of the things he would like to do while in his chrysalis. What are some of the things you think he wanted to do while he was in his chrysalis, metamorphosizing into a butterfly? Oh, singing. Oh, yes, I love to sing. Exactly. Sandra said play cards. Amy said reading. Joanna said reading too. Someone said sleeping and sewing. Someone said eating fruit and berries. TJA said watch TV. Kirsten said eat nothing but cars. Frederick said dance. Lynn said make s'mores. Allie said juggle. Yeah. Shelly said play video games. Exactly. So the butterfly gathered all of those things: video games, cards, books, a little guitar to sing along with, some knitting needles and some yarn, some balls to juggle, all of those things, and gathered them to drag them up to the top of the tree. Well, just then a butterfly was flying by and said to the caterpillar, "What are you doing?" And the caterpillar said, "I want to become a butterfly so I can fly and play with my friends, but I don't want to sit in a cocoon for 2 weeks and do nothing. It's so long and so boring. Waiting is so hard." Hey, friends, why do you think waiting is so hard? What do you think? Why is waiting so hard? Because it can be boring. Yeah, you're right. Sandra said, because you want to do stuff. Yeah, like right now, we're waiting for the pandemic to be over, and we all want to do stuff that we can't do. Excellent answer. Shelley said, because you can't control it. And Emily also said, you have no control over it. And Martha said, we're thinking of a future instead of being present. Oh, that is so wise. Susanna said, you're stuck with your thoughts. Sarah said, sometimes waiting is scary. And Robin said, you have to have faith in the future. And Juliana said, you're excited for what's next. Martha. Kathy said, we have to be with ourselves differently. Yes, because it's boring, Cal said. And Allie said, pandemic is pain in the neck. Exactly. And then Linda said, because you don't know if what you're waiting for will really happen. Oh, you all are so smart and so wise. Exactly. And so that's why the caterpillar said to the butterfly, I'm just bringing some fun stuff to do while I wait. And the butterfly said, oh, I understand. But you won't have the time or space for all of that stuff. Your transformation will require the whole cocoon and your full focus. And really, it's not boring at all, because the whole time you're in your cocoon, your body is growing the most beautiful wings, and your brain is learning how to flap your wings and fly and get nectar from the flowers. The waiting is the most important part. Otherwise, what kind of butterfly would you be? But one that can't fly or play. What do you think might be the benefits of waiting through our pandemic? This is kind of a tricky question. I don't actually know the answer. I mean, I have some wishes for what the benefits of the pandemic will be, but what do you think the benefits of our waiting might be? Keeping each other safe. Yes, thank you. David said, my family says, I'm back to the last question. Victoria said, learning. I see a chance to become who you need to be next. You can realize all that you already have. Mari said, staying healthy. Someone said, not taking things for granted. We're getting more family time now to enjoy doing the things I don't normally do. Developing empathy for each other's situations. Thank you, Brianna. Learning to embrace uncertainty, Dan said. And Sarah said, putting other needs before my own. And Frederick said, greater appreciation for the importance of each other and socializing. Cal said, to reconnect with nature. That's what I've been doing. And Jessica said, time to slow down. Exactly. So the caterpillar thought about all of that for a moment and said, well, I do want to be a butterfly that plays and flutters. And so he dropped all of his things and climbed a tree, saying, come on, caterpillar, today's your day to try. It takes a little patience to become a butterfly. And the caterpillar hung himself upside down and wrapped himself up nice and tight in his cocoon. And for the next 2 weeks, he waited. and waited and waited and grew and learned and changed and waited. And just when he thought he couldn't take it anymore, his 2 weeks were up and he began to emerge from his cocoon. He could hear his friends fluttering around playing new flying games. What are the flying games you think the butterflies were playing outside of his cocoon? Oh, races, exactly. Just what the butterfly wanted to do. Kidditch, yes, Harry Potter fans. Tag, precisely. Thank you, Murphys. And Linda and Carl, yeah. Acrobats, dancing, Lisa said, yes. Flying broomsticks, Linda said hide and seek. Exactly. Pollen collection, said Sandra. You're so smart. The most important thing. Yes. Tricks, Amy said. Exactly. They were all playing flying games, and the caterpillar inside the cocoon thought, oh no, I want to be out there playing. Help, friends. He called, friends, help me get out. Let me out. I want to play. Plus, I need help. My cocoon opening is so tight. And one of the butterflies said, dude, my grandpa told me a story about a butterfly that got cut out of his chrysalis too early and he wasn't ready. The guy just wound up being a slimy worm with wings that didn't work. Getting out of the chrysalis is hard, but if you don't do it on your own, you'll never fly. My grandpa says you got to go through the whole process to get the best results. Well, finally, the big day arrived and the caterpillar broke out of his cocoon, unfurled his wings, and flew into the bright blue sky to find his friends ready to play and race and explore. He learned that it was worth the wait. Thank you all for helping me to tell my story. So many great ideas in the chat. Next, you're going to hear a song from the choir called Lo How Arose, and you'll find the lyrics to this song in the order of service. See you next time.
Wow. Thank you, choir. Let's take a minute. Let's take a minute to let that beautiful, beautiful music, that beautiful ministry just settle in our bodies, settle in our hearts. Choir, if you are in the congregation this morning and you don't have the chat box open, you should know that you are getting a lot of love in the chat right now. Yeah. Deep, deep gratitude. Deep gratitude. Friends, we are entering a time, wow, lots of feelings. We're entering a time of prayer and a time of meditation. And as we move into this time, we've been spending about 20, 25 minutes so far kind of focused on a screen. As we move into this time of prayer and meditation that is really much more of an internal journey, feel free to just step back away from your computer, from your screen, put it down. Close your eyes. Let your gaze be soft. Put down what you're holding. Let the technology drift into the background if you can. As we enter into this time of prayer and meditation, I invite you to join me in some slow and some deep breaths. Now, you can go at your own pace. You can do what feels right. And if you find that you need an anchor of sorts, somewhere to hang your attention, you can try this. You can try allowing your out breath to be twice as long as your inhale, your in breath. So if you count to 4 over a normal inhale, then you can let your out breath take a count of 8. So if you want an anchor, if you want something to work with as we move into this time of silence, you can work with that. Or, you can just breathe. So let us do this together. Let us breathe in and out as we enter a time of silence and a time of waiting. I invite you to breathe in and out with me as we enter this silence, as we enter this shared breath that makes us one. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, we are grateful this morning for the many reminders of your presence. The experience of that larger love that moves within us and among us and beyond us. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. So goes our sung meditation on breathing. Good words, good practice for this time. Try not to whine and cry. You need a little patience to become a butterfly. Also, good words and good practice for this time. And so we gather, inhaling and exhaling, transforming with each breath the experience of the moment, turning more and more and more our hearts and our actions toward peace and justice here at home and all around the world. Turning our hearts and actions toward the world that we long for. A world that is not here yet. And so this is a time of waiting. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. We need a little patience to become a butterfly. This is a time of uncertainty. This waiting is hard. There is so much that we don't know. We breathe in peace. We breathe out love. This is a time when we might like to hibernate, to withdraw, to check out of all of the things, even if for just a moment, but few of us can. We breathe in peace. We breathe out love. And as a community, we know that we need one another. We know that when we share our sorrows in community, the load is lightened, that when we share our joys, our joy is multiplied. We know, in other words, that joy and sorrow are woven fine. They are side by side. And so I invite you now to share in the chat as you are moved, to hold in the silent sanctuary of your heart those things that are weighing you down, those things that are weighing down your spirit, and those things that are brightening your inner landscape. Share them in the chat, share them silently in your heart, but share them so that we might hold together all of what it is to be human and alive. There is so much that we are holding in our hearts today, joys and sorrows, things that are lifting our spirits, walks with families, lights on houses, the people that we are missing, the people that we have lost. To the joys and the sorrows that you share, I add the following from our community. We hold Sarah Smalley and our family in our embrace this morning as Sarah continues to struggle with health challenges. May our love and care hold Sarah and her kids in this difficult time. And we mourn the death of Jim Whitaker, stepfather of member Melissa Thompson. Jim was receiving treatment for cancer and his family was expecting to receive him into hospice care at home, but his illness progressed faster than anticipated. We hold Jim, his wife Emily, their children and grandchildren in our love and our care. And today, we celebrate with Bill McTeer and Karen Parson. Bill's latest bone marrow biopsy came back with no evidence of leukemia cells. Karen and Bill are elated that Bill is in remission, and we celebrate this good news with them. And this morning, we mourn the death of Hope Johnson. Hope was an elder amongst BIPOC UU ministers, and her impact was felt far and wide across our movement. She was deeply beloved, and she will be deeply missed. And we celebrate this morning with Caitlin Rogers and Conrad Carlazzi on the birth of the newest member of their family, Dean Fox. Dean was born on November 26th. Everyone is doing well and settling in, particularly Vivian, who loves being a big sibling. And many of you know that Cecilia Newton passed away on November 8th. We will be holding Cecilia's memorial service on Sunday, December 13th at 4 p.m. This will be an online service, and the link will be published in this week's Liberal email newsletter. And we hope you'll join us in saying goodbye. Friends, lots of energy can move when we pray and meditate like this together, sharing what's on our hearts, feeling our compassion awakened, called forth, as we are invited to hold all of what it means to be human and to be alive right now. Let's take a breath together to let all that we're feeling integrate into our bodies, into our hearts. And let us close this time of prayer as we traditionally do. If you know the words by heart, feel free to join me in saying them. May the grip of addiction be loosened. May the weight of oppression be lightened. May joy break through, and may love make every suffering bearable. May it be so, and amen. And I invite you to join me in singing Spirit of Life with Ani and Dave.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hands, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you, Ani and Dave, and thank you, Aimee, for the story, and Arif for the prayer. Sometimes I have the experience on Sunday mornings of not thinking about my role in the service or what's coming up, but just being caught in the flow of the worshiping community. And I have felt that this morning. And Aimee's story, Arif, the way you slowed us down, holding all of the sorrow and the hard places and the anniversaries of loved ones and the joy that was in that prayer. So grateful for this time and this space where we are together, even as we're apart. It is an imaginative spiritual practice to really feel myself in this community with all of you, and I feel that this morning. I've been arising early these days. I get up usually around 5 in the morning. By 6 o'clock in the morning, after some spiritual practices and coffee, of course, coffee, I'm out the door for a walk around the lake. When I return home at 7 in the morning, the moon and the stars are still visible in the night sky. And I feel a really deep kinship with them. Because when I'm up so early on summer mornings or spring mornings, the stars and the moon are long gone by 7. But in wintertime, only the faintest hints of dawn have emerged by 7. In these winter months, these winter days, the dawn has such a slow feel to it. The actual rising of the sun takes so much time. It's as if the sun itself is struggling, exhausted, barely able to lift itself out of the bed, set aside the covers, and get up over the horizon. By 7:30 in the morning, there is more light, but still no sun. And for the next 2 weeks, the light will diminish even further as we approach the winter solstice, that shortest day of the year. We are in a season of waiting for the light to return. The season of short days and long, dark nights. This year, it is also a collective season of separation, of grief. This is what was in the prayer chat, so much of this sense of separation, of grief. It is unlike any other season that we have experienced in so many ways. The words of the Irish poet John O'Donoghue speak to this time. He writes this: "You are in this time of the interim, where everything seems withheld. The path you took to get here has washed out. The path forward, the way forward, is still concealed from you. The old is not old enough to have died away. The new is still too young to be born. You cannot lay claim to anything in this place of dusk. Your eyes are blurred, and there is no mirror. As far as you can, hold your confidence. Do not allow your confusion to squander this call, which is loosening your roots in false ground, that you might come free from all you have outgrown. What is being transformed here is your mind, and it is difficult and slow to become new. The more faithfully you can endure here, the more refined your heart will become for your arrival in the new dawn. The new dawn is coming. Surely it is coming. The new dawn is coming, but it is not yet here. And so the question as we wait might well be, what does faithful endurance look like? Perhaps faithful endurance begins with naming and normalizing the experiences of this time. My sense is that many of us have hit a wall, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. We made it through the summer and the fall. We braced and prepared for winter, and winter is upon us now, and harder and worse than we imagined. And we're exhausted. We're worried. Many of us are stuck in our homes. Many of us feel stuck or trapped in sameness or in routines, stuck in what feels like a maze that we just can't find an exit to. We're stuck in grief, and there's layers and layers to that grief. Climate chaos, wildfires, hurricanes, the record-setting temperatures of this past year, grief at the lives and jobs lost, grief at the indifference and silence and lies of the current administration. As the poet says, the old is not old enough to have died away. The new is still too young to be born. There is a heaviness to this time. The way forward is still concealed. What we know is that this holiday season, we will not gather in the sanctuary for our Christmas pageant or our winter solstice service or our Christmas Eve candlelight service. We will not pack into those pews with loved ones as we have done in years past, or maybe even for the first time this year. If you're new to our community, we will not be in that sanctuary with family visiting for the holidays, with children home from college, sitting with us, singing with us. We will not sing those familiar carols as one body together. We will not light candles and hold candles, letting that light illuminate our faces and then turning in wonder to see the illuminated faces of those around us. This is what is known. We will not gather in those ways. But something else is known as well in this time. In this space, in this season, something is being transformed. Something is stirring, something is happening. It is difficult and slow, this unnamed process, this becoming new. And perhaps like never before, the external realities of this time, the slowing, the waiting, the not knowing, that reality, that truth, that perfectly aligns with the rituals and the holy days of this season. And those rituals and holy days can create containers for us to rest in. They are stories that hold this larger moment we are in as we await the birth of the new dawn. Think of the story, the archetypal story of Mary and Joseph, this poor, humble couple journeying to Bethlehem to be taxed. Talk about a story where everything seems to be withheld. Neither Mary nor Joseph have any of the answers that they would like. Joseph, I'm quite certain, has got to be wondering again and again in his mind, who exactly is the father of this child? And Mary's only comfort in this story is the angel Gabriel gently whispering to her, be not afraid. It's great advice, but still, put yourself in those shoes. You're holding the biggest questions of your life. In this case, whose child is this? What is happening? When will this be over? And the answers aren't forthcoming. What does come, what we see in this story, is the faithfulness of Mary and Joseph to journey together, to stay together, to walk and travel together. What does come is the kindness of a fellow human being who offers love, who opens up space, the space he has, to this family, so they can rest for a bit before their child is born, before hope and possibility can be born into the new dawn. And the winter solstice, this ancient ritual that marks the darkest time of the year. This ancient ritual invites us to befriend the darkness, to surrender to the darkness, to let go, to trust that a new dawn with just a tiny bit more daylight will come. On the day after the winter solstice, we can barely even tell anything has changed. We're asked to believe in something we cannot see or even imagine. At least not at first. This makes me think of a story. I remember a number of years ago when I was doing my hospital chaplaincy when I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I was on call for the night, and on my rounds through the emergency room, I was wandering through the emergency room. It was loud, it was chaotic, there was beeping and shouting and everything you'd expect in an emergency room and late in the evening. And as I walked through the emergency room, one of the nurses asked me, she saw I was a chaplain, she asked me if I would stop by the room of a patient who had just come in. So I walked over to that room, and at the entrance of that room, I announced that I was the chaplain, and I asked for consent. Is it okay if I come in? Okay, said the patient, just a little bit defensively, but I'm fine. The look on their face said otherwise. So I said, is it okay if I sit down? And the patient nodded, and I sat. And I said, how are you? How are you? There was a long silence. We just sort of sat in that space. And then they began to talk. They were angry. They were depressed. They were wondering about the meaning and purpose of their life. They talked about how hard and what a struggle just some of the day-to-day things were for them. The patient paused and then said, I love my dog. I really love my dog. And for the first time, I heard just a hint of joy and love. I'm sure your dog loves you too, I said. And we sat there, and then I said, thank you for sharing all of that with me, your suffering, your joy, your love of your dog. We sat together in silence for a moment more. And then I asked, can I share an image that has come to me? And the patient nodded. And so I went on, I said, I have an image of you wandering in this big maze. And in this maze, it's kind of dark, it's kind of gloomy. There are no signs, there's no markers, there's no guides. It just feels like there's twisting maze everywhere. And I wonder what might happen if you stop and just look up out of the maze. I wonder if you might see the night sky, if you might imagine in this maze that feels like your life, if you can look up, could you see the night sky and the twinkling of stars or the moon? Could you see the North Star? Something that could give you a bearing, something that can ground you. I went on and I said, maybe it's a combination of, looking up and seeing what's there and looking inward, but I wonder if there is something in those places, a key that will help you get your bearings, that will help orient you to this challenging time. There was a long silence again. It was just an offering. I made an invitation. There are no quick answers to the hard realities of being human and struggling and suffering. So we sat there a little bit, and then the patient said, you mean like the key to the secret garden, referring to the book by the same title. I said, yeah, something like that, I think. And a small smile appeared on the patient's face. I don't think it was a smile that meant, oh, great, all my problems are fixed now. I'm going to look up and find my way out of this hard place, but rather a smile that indicated something had shifted, something had loosened just a little bit, that the way forward was not totally clear, but there was a sense that a new dawn could come and would come. I share this story with you this morning because I thought of it on a recent early morning walk as I saw the stars and the moon in the dark, dark morning sky. I share this story because in these interim days, when the weight of the world feels so heavy, and we are stretched and tired and anxious and short with one another and angry and at the edge of what we can hold, in this season of waiting in the hard place, we are needing a North Star to guide us, to help refine our hearts as we faithfully endure. I think of the teachings of author Mark Nepo and how much changed for him after he had this cancer diagnosis. How much changed for him after this diagnosis and his journey of not knowing, really not knowing whether he would live or die. This journey of waiting and wondering and watching pieces that seem so important be stripped away from his life. It was not an easy journey. In that time, Nepo traced the outlines of his own death. He felt his own mortality as close as it could possibly be. And when he finally arrived in the new dawn, he reflected on this new orientation to living. He shared this: my efforts have turned from trying to outrun suffering to trying to express it, from trying to achieve joy to trying to discover it, and from trying to shape the lives around me to accepting love wherever I can find it. Friends, in this in-between time, this time of waiting, this time of wondering, this time when our efforts alone will change little. We cannot pull the sun up any faster than its natural pace. In this time, let us not attempt to outrun the suffering that is so present among us. Let us set aside dreams of achieving joy in a season so upended, and instead discover the joy and grace and surprises that live in this time. And let us forego the urge to shape the lives around us by the force of our will, and instead give and accept love wherever we can. Dear ones, I love you. May this be so. Blessed be, and amen. Before we give and receive our offering this morning, I want to share just a big thank you for ongoing support and generosity. It's one of the things that we can do in this time. We can help feed people. We can help organizations that share our values. We can put our resources to work in positive ways in this community. And so 2 weeks ago, I want to let you know, we collected over $1,600 for the Alafia Foundation. This is an organization in North Minneapolis, one of our newest Faithful Action partners. And when we combined this most recent offering of $1,600 with the earlier offering of over $3,000, we have helped to fulfill our commitment to fund one of their fellows, which costs $5,000. So thank you for your generosity. Thank you. I love you too. I'm seeing some of the chat as I talk with you all. Grateful for this space with you. Our offering today will be a 50-50 split between First Universalist Church and our emergency fund. This emergency fund is designed to help congregants and families who are experiencing financial hardship. It helps with housing costs, it helps with medical costs, transportation costs, new eyewear costs, almost anything that you can imagine. We have supported folks with this fund. And so our offering today is a split between the emergency fund and the church. This is a really concrete and tangible way we offer support to one another. And your support truly does make a difference. And I want to say again, if you need financial support or emotional support now or in the holidays or anytime, please let us know. If you're struggling today, we want to be in that struggle with you. As you can see on your screen, there's a number of ways to give. You can give online, you can give through text, you can write an old-fashioned check and send that into the church. However you give and whatever you give, it is appreciated and it is a gift that helps those in our community. It is deeply appreciated. As we give and receive our offering, let's listen to some beautiful music from David Lauth.
We believe in things that we cannot see. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Hands that heal can set a chained man free. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? And we believe in peace within every heart. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Burning brightly, brightly in the dark. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? So come on, darling, feel your spirit rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is all around, good is at the gate. Allah hears your prayers, it's not too late. We believe in things that will give us hope. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Let your voice be heard, celebrate your vote. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? And we believe in things that make us all the same. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Love belongs to all in deed and name. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? So come on, darling, feel your spirits rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is all around, Buddha's at the gate. Allah hears your prayers, it's not too late. We believe in things that can't be done. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Lift up your heart, put down your gun. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? And we believe in things we're told we cannot change. Why shouldn't we? We had heroes once, and we will again. Why shouldn't we? So come on, darling. Come on, children. God is all around, Buddha's at the gate. Allah hears our prayers, it's not too late. So come on, darling, feel your spirits rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is all around, Buddha's at the gate. Allah hears our prayers, it's not too late. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we?
David, thank you so much for sharing your passion, your gift of music with us this morning. Thank you. Beloveds, we are in the time of the interim, a time of waiting, a time of not knowing. In this time, may we hold fast to one another. May we be gentle and loving with ourselves. May we reach out to ask for the support and comfort we need. May we listen and offer kindness. May we trust that even here, in this interim time, joy exists and love is available. May we faithfully endure. Friends, as we prepare to sing Go Now in Peace with Ani and Dave, may you be blessed and may you be a blessing.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Dear ones, don't forget you are welcome to join us for our fellowship hour right after the service. The links are in the order of service we shared in the chat. And now, as we extinguish the chalice, we do not extinguish the flame in our hearts. May that flame burn brightly until we are together again. As we end our service and extinguish this flame, I invite you to share in the chat box, I carry or we carry the flame. Take care. Bye-bye.